good evening. Welcome to Face to Face. My name's David McCarthy. I'm the co-convener, Victorian Gay and Lesbian Rights Lobby, and tonight I'm interviewing Troy Gurr, editor of MCV. And before I start, I should say I'm a contributor to MCV, so I get an opportunity to give him some grief for a change.
You're going to get some back.
I'll get some back. So, tell us the Troy Gurr story. When were you born? Where were you born? And how you started off.
Well, I was born a Perth lad.
Yep.
I moved over here, I think, just over 2 years ago. I'm just about to turn 32.
Yep.
I'm actually a trained high school teacher. I was a high school teacher back in Perth, and I did that after 3 years of university. I taught for, I think, about 3 weeks before I realised that there was something else I wanted to do, which was become a writer. But being a writer in Perth is not the easiest because there isn't the media venue for it there. And so after struggling and messing around for 8 years in between, I decided to just throw it in and packed up my car and headed over here.
Come east.
Come east, yeah, with no job, and nowhere to live. Didn't know anybody, which was part of the attraction, I think, was that...
Clean break.
Yeah, the anonymity that I was going to have, and I could do whatever I wanted once I got here. And I wanted to be a writer, so that's what I launched into.
Okay. So why Melbourne and not Sydney or Brisbane?
I think because my brother was in Sydney.
Okay.
So it's a good idea to avoid him. No, not really. I think Melbourne because it just felt like a safer town, a nicer town, a friendlier town, which is I've actually found to be true since I've been here.
Yep.
But it was also a cheaper town. Like I said, I literally didn't have a job, and I think about $1,000 in my pocket when I arrived, and so it would just seem like the easier alternative, I think.
Okay. And publishing, what drew you to publishing? You said you were a writer, but in terms of publishing and now being editor of MCV, what drew you to that?
I think fundamentally I'm a storyteller, which basically means fundamentally I'm a liar. But it's just one of those things in life where I was really passionate about, and I could get excited about, and I was creating these worlds. I've written screenplays. I've done work with the Australian Film Commission. I wrote for Home and Away, of all things. Yes, I'm the one to blame. Sorry.
We'll come back to that.
No, it's not. And I've written a novel as well. So freelance. When I came to Melbourne, I decided I'd start hitting the magazines that I was reading and the papers that I was reading, which is I think actually MCV was the very first gig I got.
Yep.
I wrote a piece about saunas.
Yep.
Because we don't have them in Perth. Oh, we do, but they're not talked about, and
right.
so they're not discussed in Perth. And I was fascinated by them when I got here. The fact that there was more of those than there was actually nightclubs. So I started writing for MCV. I started hitting DNA magazine, Blue magazine, Men's Health, Ralph magazine. Basically, just whoring myself out to the highest bidder. And eventually, when the opportunity came up to be editor at MCV, where I'd actually had been pretty much writing for 2 years at that point, I jumped at the chance because it was a paper that I knew, it was a paper that I respected. It was a paper full of people that I really enjoyed the company of. And so yeah, it wasn't so much like a plan. I was coming to Melbourne, I'm going to be the editor of MCV within 2 years. Right. But at the same time, I certainly didn't fall into it. Yeah. But the opportunity came up, and I ran with it.
Cool. Some of those other publications you mentioned there, they charge. People have to buy them. A free-to-street newspaper, what's the difference there, and why do you think a free-to-street paper is so important for our community?
I think because it has a lot more of an independent voice, because it's not so reliant on the cost price of it on the newsstand, that people actually have to think twice about whether or not they want to pick it up. So as a result, we're going to get a lot more exposure. People are going to consider us a lot more. Also for rural areas, because we get out, MCV gets out to a lot of the regional areas. We go to Tasmania now, of course, as well. That the fact that we ask free to street is more encouraging for people to actually take that newspaper on board in terms of distribution.
It's a conscious decision, isn't it, to actually pick it up?
It is a conscious decision, and not just to pick it up, but to take it home.
Yep.
I mean, MCV has, I think, 94% of our readers who pick it up at a venue actually take it home with them. So that means that there is enough content in there for them to actually think, I want to read about that when I get home.
Yep.
And it's like free information, basically. It's like, hey, this is a great opportunity for me to find out what's going on in my community, and I'm not having to shell out $12, $13 to actually find out about it every month.
Yeah, yeah. Because one of the things that there's a very broad range of contributors. all very talented, of course.
Oh.
But there doesn't seem to be many lesbian contributors. Why is that?
If I honestly knew, I think we would have solved the problem by now. I get the criticism occasionally that there's not enough lesbian content. There's not enough lesbian content, and I turn straight around and say, "What would you like me to talk about?" And it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, give me something to work with. So we certainly absolutely encourage it. In fact, Andrew Milnes, the news editor, and I will get together on a Wednesday afternoon and just scan through the 200 emails that are in our inbox, looking for something that involves the lesbian community. And I couldn't tell you what it was and why it is. In terms of, even for their events, publicity, when we ask them, hey, we heard that, I won't name particular places, but a venue is having a birthday party, send us information. We want to know what's going on. We want to know what's going on, and it won't come through.
Because it often only seems to be the controversial things, the LesFest and that gets the coverage. And I know with Joy, for example, it's taken a considerable period of time to build up, that balance, and it's been hard work for them too, I think.
Yeah, obviously we look at the competitors' papers and we look at magazines like Lesbiana, and we're not missing anything.
Yep.
They're covering the same things that we're covering, of course. I think Lesbiana is actually monthly.
I think it is, yeah.
So that content is spread over 4 weeks with us. And it is a shame that things like LesFest are what gets the attention, the fact that it closed. We were genuinely excited in the office, thinking, great, this is going to be a terrific event where we can actually focus on a whole pile of lesbian content all at once, which sounds a tad patronising, but it was like the great opportunity to bring it all together.
Yep.
It gave us an excuse almost to say, almost force the issue. Say, hey, what are you guys, what are you girls talking about? What are you girls thinking about? What are you girls writing about?
Yeah.
And of course, it went under. But no, if we definitely absolutely beg for more lesbian content to come through, because we don't want to be seen as a gay men's paper.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of survival of like you just said, LesFest didn't continue. It's always a difficult balance, isn't it? Is getting enough advertising revenue to actually be able to sustain the paper over a period of time, and balancing that with the content. What sort of challenges does that throw up?
Oh gosh. Well, we are very much, I think, probably the only free-to-street press in Australia that isn't a cash for comments, that isn't basically, if you advertise, we'll give you editorial. Our editorial teams and our advertising teams are very distinctly different departments, and as a result, that can actually be more problematic for the advertising team than it is for me, so it probably isn't good that I speak for them. Occasionally that'll cross, in terms of like, I can say to them, we're doing a story in 4 weeks on this particular venue or event, and they'll go seeking out advertising. But we don't campaign it the other way around, where an advertiser comes on board and we straight away say, yep, we'll talk about you just for the sake of talking about you. As a result, that's actually brilliant for me, and it's why I enjoy working for this paper, and why I enjoy working for somebody like Andrew Kosh, who encourages that, encourages our editorial independence.
Yeah, the separate.
And we maintain our integrity, which is why people actually read our paper. Because we have not proper writers, that's an awful thing to say, but good writers who are actually following these questions up. And we send people out to venues to give us reviews of it. It's not just PR.
Yeah.
And our news pages especially, with Andrew Milnes does a fantastic job of. Content-wise, exactly what we think the community needs to know about and what we should be talking about. There's no compromise that has to be made there at all, which is,
it's great.
It's an incredible treat.
It is unusual in newspapers, because certainly my experience with other papers is where I've contributed pieces and they get politically corrected. Or the title changes, or the parts get separated, and that doesn't happen.
No, we tend to actually go the other way.
Yeah, add stuff in.
And upset as many apple carts as... we try to upset one apple cart a week.
Yeah.
But, I think, like I said, it is a really, really fine line that we tread, and it's not always the easiest thing to maintain when you're getting pressured from these PR companies saying, well, we're advertising with you, we'll pull our advertising dollars. And the reality of it is that MCV is a newspaper that survives on that, because we are free to street. So, but I think at the end of the day, the advertisers come back thinking that, or realising that we require them just as much as they require us. And
if it's a quality paper, people will pick it up.
Pick it up, and that's when they'll notice the ads.
Yeah. What about politicians? Do they because MCV does report quite a bit about politics and how it impacts our community. Do you get much pressure there?
Not yet. We'd actually like it, I think. In terms of even getting feedback from certain governmental officers, it's almost a nightmare because we don't like to sneak up on them or ambush them by any means. So when we get on the line, we do say we're MCV, we're a gay lesbian newspaper, and straight away the barriers go up, the shields go up, because I think they're on the run. They know they're in trouble. So
they go, oh shit,
well, yeah, oh crap, this is that Edward Young thing again.
Oh my God, yeah.
And the Attorney General's office, even on that, took us, I think Andrew 3 weeks to get a response back.
Yeah.
Which is ludicrous.
Yeah.
Any other media, we would have been writing about.
Yep.
That we can't get a response, and we certainly tell people. It's not from lack of trying in the editorial room that we aren't getting responses. So if a politician rang up and said, hey, you did something wrong there, great, chat with us.
Yeah.
Great, talk to us. Tell us what we did wrong, we'll run a story. But we yet to actually have anyone ring up and say, hey, you've got it wrong.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, which is a good thing, because we maintain our accuracy as much as we can.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a little bad because they're running away from us. We're thinking, no, we want to actually open up a dialogue here. This can be just as much your forum to get your message across as it is for us to get our message across.
Cool.
To that community.
All right. We're going for a break now. We'll be back after the break. You're watching Face to Face on Bent TV. Back real soon. Thanks for watching. Very good. What are the highs of being the editor of a gay and lesbian paper?
Oh, one of.
Yeah.
Well, I do get to work with a really good bunch of people, and so it's an intelligent office. I get to walk in the door, and it's creative, and there's ideas flowing all the time, and there's information flowing all the time, and that's always really great. I get to meet famous people. I get to be on TV. I think the best part of my job is the challenge of it, is the difficulties you face in every issue. Like, just for example, a couple of weeks back, we had both of our front page stories fall through at the last minute, and in an attempt to solve that problem, we actually wound up with Jay from Queer Eye for the Straight Guy as an interview, and it's that kind of just opportunity that comes up constantly in this job that I constantly get to find out what else is going on and push it a little further and aim a little higher.
Yeah. And
because I do work with the kind of people I work with, they're just as enthusiastic about it as I am. And it's like, hey, yeah, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this. But yeah, I think I literally wake up every morning and I'm excited about going to work. I'm excited about what I'm going to be doing that day.
Mate, you must put something in the water.
You might.
Must be what it is.
Yeah, either that or slap me around every now and then. That'll keep me in line. But no, it's the only job I've ever had in my entire life where I get to work early and I leave late, and I don't think twice. Like, oh gosh, it's 4:30, I'm out of here.
Yep.
And coming from working freelance, which is always a little more difficult.
It is, yeah.
And at the end of the day, there's a finished product sitting in front of me on Friday morning that I'm incredibly proud of. And that's it. I mean, that's as good as it gets.
Now, is it true that any issue that has Kylie on the front
will move twice as fast as any issue that doesn't?
Tends to move quickly than anything else?
I don't know why.
Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of understanding our readership, and we, of course, I think about 8 weeks back, got the very first pick of Kylie's new video clip.
Yep.
And you couldn't pick up a copy of that paper on Chapel Street after 5 o'clock Saturday afternoon. They were gone.
Yep.
They were just gone. I don't think there's even one floating around the office anymore because people were grabbing them.
Yeah.
So nothing sells it like a good front page image. And of course, and the best part about that is that alongside it was a really important story about the a church in South Yarra, which was distributing homophobic material in the area in a letterbox drop. And I'm sure at least 80% went from the Kylie pick to that story and read about what's going on.
Yep.
So if it takes a Kylie graphic to get them to read that, I'm okay with it. Okay. Yeah, I'll run with it.
The lows?
The lows? I have a list.
I do.
I do have a list. PR companies, probably.
Excuse me.
PR companies will ring up and say, oh, we've got a band and the roadie's gay, so you're probably going to want to do a story on us. Or some clairvoyant will come to town and she'll say, oh, gay people sometimes come to the show. And it's like, well, gay people also shop at Coles, but I'm not going to be doing a story on them. That's definitely a part of it. Thursdays between 8 and 12 on
Yes.
deadline day is always one of the lows when it's probably the only time I genuinely feel bad for Andrew Milnes, who has to share an office with me, because I get a little bit snappish in that period when I'm just trying to bring those final elements together. The misconception in the community and of the broader community of what the gay newspaper does and what we are as a newspaper and who we are as MCV as an identity, that a lot of people will get nervous about us when we want to contact them.
Yeah.
We had, without naming names, but we were like trying to line up some actors to help launch World AIDS Day, and the publicity people were straight away, oh, you know, gay AIDS, I don't think he's going to want to do it. And it's like, are you crazy? People have turned us down for the reason that we're a gay paper and that they think we're going to beat them up. It can be really frustrating when you can't get commitments from people who are talking to the wider community when they talk, not to talk to us, especially when they're talking about us.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, talk to the gay media and let us, you know, present it, because you're not going to get that exact view from The Age, and certainly not from
the other paper.
The other paper.
The other paper.
Yes.
We won't give them a free plug. They know who they are.
And anything to do with scene will usually drive me a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
Because because of the timeline of the paper, and because we do run a full scene guide in terms of what's happening, and information gets fed through so slowly from some of the venues, and chasing them up for stories and articles and photos and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm also dealing with that on Thursday morning between 8 and 12. So.
Yeah. Bit tense.
Bit tense, yes.
Now, do you ever worry about libel?
We're certainly conscious of it. I haven't gotten to a point now where I've been worried about it. Of course, it's not defamatory to accuse somebody of being gay, although we've not done that either, and I don't ever see us having done that. We're not the let's out the celebrities kind of newspaper. No, I think because we are so conscious of it in the office that we don't sit around going, oh, have we pushed this too far? Have we pushed this too far?
Yeah.
If we do get to that point, then we seek legal advice before we run it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Sensible.
Oh,
sensible.
I think it.
Now, I suppose the format of the paper, it's remained fairly true to how it started, but it has actually changed quite organically over time. Is it in the format that you want? Are there any sort of small changes at the edges or major changes that you'd like to see?
Oh, for sure. There's tweaking I'd like to do all over the place. For whatever reason, page 6 comes out and I can't stand it. Every week without fail, page 6. I think it's one of the last pages we actually put together in the design room. In terms of its visuals, I like it a lot. I really do. Tracy Xiong does a fantastic job of that on a weekly basis and under an awful lot of pressure, especially with me standing over her shoulder.
Yes.
And I can get really pedantic about it too, and she's unbelievably receptive to change. And as I said to you earlier, that because of my enthusiasm for the paper and everyone else's enthusiasm for the paper, we want to put out a top-notch product. So when we do look at page 6, for example, and sort of say, oh, we really wouldn't mind making a change there, we'll workshop it, look at it, we'll work it out. But there are little bits and pieces across the board I'd like to change, but as an overview, no, I think the paper's doing great.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm proud of it every Friday.
Right. Now, do you have a shit list?
I do have a shit list, yes.
Okay, so who's on the shit list?
This week, Andrew Kosh gave me a picture at one point of a guy taking a leak into a urinal, so it's actually from his back. And so we've cut out a little space in that urinal, and I stick somebody's head in there every week who actually makes my shit list. And I'm not saying who's actually on there this week, but usually there'll be a publicity company will make it. Somebody who's rung up during the weekends and for whatever reason has ticked me off.
Yeah.
But they only stay on the list for a week. I'd just like to point that out. The occasional, I'm not, you're going to get me in trouble. Don't.
Yeah, I'll ask you the next question because we don't want to get sued.
Yeah, I will have to worry about libel then.
Exactly. Now, what about your opposition?
We have some? Oh, yes, the other paper. No, I'm kidding. I think we're two very, 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 very different papers. We're two very distinctly different papers, and I can't concern myself with what they do too much. I can look at their paper and make my own judgments of it in terms of what I would do to that paper, but it's not my call. At the end of the day, because they are such a different paper, we can focus on the things that we need to focus on. We can focus on the news. and the importance of that. We can focus on getting the stories and tracking things down and following through. So in terms of when the competition does actually arrive, I certainly scan through it, but I don't pay an awful lot of heed, no. Simple fact, I don't think that's my role. I have to be aware of what else is out there, but I don't think that we compete against it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Now the future for the paper.
Future for the paper. You know what honestly, I'd like in 10 years for the paper, for the necessity to be redundant.
Yeah.
I'd actually like the fact if MCV in 10 years' time didn't have to actually be around, that we weren't having to still question what was going on in society. We weren't constantly having to fight politicians. We weren't constantly trying to get research money for HIV or whatever. That the world has come to a point where we're homogeneous enough for us not to actually need to be there.
Yep. Yep.
But essentially, in terms of the paper, we're just going to try harder every time. Every issue that comes out, we push it a little further. We reach out a little further. The fact that we now hit the rural communities and Tasmania is just sort of the start. That we want to get the broader audience, and we want to get that feedback in. We want to push as much into that 28 to 32 to 36 pages as we possibly can of content, so that the reader is aware that we actually are considering every point of view.
Yeah.
So in terms of the future for the excuse me, I bet that was loud. In terms of the paper, in terms of an overall vision, I think we're there for now, but in 6 months' time.
It's a bit of a movable feast.
It has to be. It has to be flexible. It has to be dynamic.
Yep.
We have to address things as they come up. So we can go from something like, you might remember the Holy Shit cover when the Vatican came out, and then in the next week we can have Kylie on the cover, because of what actually happened that week and what we need to talk about.
Yep.
So I think we're the kind of newspaper which can flex between the two. We can run a feature story on gay television, and the next week run it on superannuation reforms.
Yep. Cool. All right. Thanks for your time tonight, Troy. Troy's the editor of MCV. Soon we'll be interviewing Sherelle Moody from B News Melbourne Star. You're watching Face to Face on Bent TV. I'm Dave McCarthy. Thanks for watching. See you real soon. Bye for now.